talk about slimming in camera. This is awesome. Okay, so this is a wide-angle lens, 17 millimeter. And I would say when I'm talking a wide-angle lens, I'm talking the kind of lens that you're going to get somebody looking really big if you put them off to the side, or that really distorts, right? Most people are shy about photographing. Most photographers are shy about photographing with a wide-angle lens because it's too much distortion. But what I find is if somebody's right in the dead center, they're thinner. And when it's horizontal, they're thinner, and you know, she still looks good. But then do it vertical, and it's even better. And then vertical, I'll show you, on a tilt. And then looking down and then up at them is even better. So rather than straight on, it's kind of like this. And it takes the beveling of a wide-angle lens, and it really distorts them to look longer and taller. I know that glass is expensive. I bought a 17 to 35 millimeter on eBay for like 300 bucks used. So, and it was a Tamron. Like, you don't need to have the best glass in the world if you're not going to use it too much. But if you are going to, you know, I also now have invested in a nice 2.8 20 millimeter, which is really, really nice and sweet. But so here's another one, and this is where I just shot straight on with the camera just exactly. I should put the camera there. The camera straight on of Lee. She still looks fantastic, and the lines of the blanket as well. It's a nice boudoir pose. You want to have the leg kind of showing on the outside if you're doing this. And then when I tilted it, she's even taller and longer, and I didn't change where I was standing. So do you see the difference? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's a neat trick. And then this bride was 5 feet tall. How tall do you think she looks? A lot taller, right? Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing. So reducing age in camera, this is a nice, easy kind of tip and trick. Okay, this might seem like a no-brainer, but it still took me a little while to really start getting better at this and to kind of work it out. So I had Kelsey, the model that is in a lot of these photos, take these pictures of me. And one is at just like at the regular exposure. And then I had her do no more than about a half a stop or like two-thirds of a stop brighter. And all of a sudden, my wrinkles have gone a little bit. They've made a little bit less, right? I look maybe 3 years younger. Yeah. And this is like in kind of open shade. So that's all fine. You may not have great backlight. But if you do have backlight, this is Lee with backlight. And she looks even younger, and I didn't do anything to these pictures. So yes, I do skin retouching and stuff like that. I want everybody to look fabulous. I try to lay off. I still want, if somebody's got wrinkles, I want them to have the wrinkle but just diminished. So in the videos that I'll be making for you guys, I'll show you how I do that. It's a really simple trick in Photoshop, but you can do it in Lightroom too. And then the one on your right of her was where I actually put my hand a little bit up and made it kind of fuzzy. So there's like the fuzziness of my hand is actually creating a little bit of a softer look to the photo. And you can do that with tissue paper as well. And it just makes people look a little bit younger. And it's great for reducing blemishes as well. Or if somebody has really uneven skin, put them with the sun directly behind them and get some of that light coming in the camera. So this is where you might even want to take the lens hood off. And then this girl, she had really beautiful skin, but I just want to show you that straight out of the camera. This was a wedding I just shot a couple weeks ago, and using the trees in the foreground and the leaves in the foreground, because there were a lot of leaves in my foreground, it blurred it, right? And if she did have uneven skin, you'd never know, right? She looks like she's got creamy, perfect skin, and none of us have creamy, perfect skin. Like that's, you know. So it's just making sure you shoot a little bit wider open. I did shoot this with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, which has even better bokeh in the background compression. But I find even with photographers that have been shooting for a really long time, and even wedding photographers who, you know, most of us should be using our flash for receptions, they're like, I hate going to receptions because, like, you know. So I wanted to just show you some really easy on-camera and off-camera flash setups. Just really make it super simple. So I did just want to say that oftentimes our clients will say at 11 o'clock in the morning in the Bahamas, and as you're about to board a bus, can you take a picture of me in front of the ocean? And I mean, look at the poo light, right? It's pretty terrible. So, so sometimes I have no time to set up any kind of great shot. And so you can get, is everybody familiar with the Gary Fong diffuser? So you can get diffusers. There's this one. There's also ones that look like this that you can put on the front of your lens to kind of diffuse the light. There we go. And if you have to get Velcro on your lens for it, but it's just like a little mini softbox. So what I did was I pointed my camera using a diffuser at my flash at him, and I filled in the lights. The shadows under his eyes. I had to do Photoshop on this picture to really give it to him because it's still just a snapshot, right? It's not the best photo in the world. But he would have been pretty upset if I said, no, the light's not good. I'm not going to take your picture here. Sometimes you have to point your flash directly at people, and that's where using a diffuser helps. And do you agree that this is just a bit better of a picture? And you want to make sure the background and he wants the background in the picture. You don't just want to blow out the highlights like you would in other things. So this is an example where I didn't have my flash on. I was being stubborn, and I thought I had good enough light. And I did have to end up doing a little bit of digital fill, right, later. But what do you guys, it's a nice picture of the groom and his sister, but they both have shadows under the eyes, and it's just not that great. And it was a cloudy day. It was completely cloudy. So sometimes having a little bit of a fill flash, and that's where this picture comes in. So this is a fill flash picture. Just a little bit better, right? So this is when I went, oh, I shouldn't do that anymore. Okay, I'm going to stop seeing natural light. And sometimes it pays to actually at least just put a little bit of fill flash in. And one thing I just wanted to talk about is bouncing your flash. And I have some easy things to, now I know I said I mostly shoot in manual mode when it comes to the camera settings, but I shoot TTL or ETTL or ATTL depending on if you're Canon. Is it ITTL even with Canon? I'm not sure. ETTL. Okay. So Canon's got a different vernacular nomenclature than Nikon does. But basically it just means that this little spot of the flash is going to automatically measure the light that's coming through my lens, through the lens. That's what it means. So just think TTL through the lens. And it usually works out a great exposure every time. So don't feel like you have to shoot on manual mode. And I know there's a lot of photography purists out there, and sometimes it can get a little bit bullying, don't you find as well, about I only shoot with natural light. Oh, I never use my flash. No, I use my flash all the time. What are you talking about? And I only shoot manual with my flash. I do know how to shoot manual with my flash, but it's way easier. People are moving in and out. I've got 100 people around me. I'm trying to photograph them. Damn right I'm going to shoot auto on my flash, right? So TTL-BL means that it just means, I always call it backlight. I don't know what the real BL, what it means. I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it. But it adjusts for the light of the area behind somebody, so behind. And then TTL only or ITTL only means it's just adjusting for the subject in focus, and it's not going to be concerned about anything else. And that's where something might look a little bit flashy. So it's pretty much as simple as that. Zoom mode is usually automatic. Your flash is just going to do this for you, and it's going to know, I've got a 35 millimeter lens on right now. If I had a 70 to 200 millimeter zoom, if I'm at 70, it knows how much light to spread out for 70 millimeters. It's about 200. It knows how much light to spread out for 200 millimeter. I just let the flash do all that work for me. I don't really care. So because I'm shooting receptions a lot. But this applies to you guys, if you're doing family reunions or any kind of parties, for those of you who don't shoot weddings, it's all good. I think you still find, when you're shooting even just your friends, anything inside, I never, ever, ever do this, and I don't even do this, because it just makes everything just too flashy. Oh, my card's broken out of here, but a little white card that can come up? I sometimes do that if I have to, but really my go-to setup is always a little bit to the back. Not so far back that if somebody's standing behind me, but just back enough that, that it's going to like get onto the ceiling, and it's going to be really diffuse light, and it's going to create shadows. There's shadows on them, right? If I shot a little bit more toward them, then or more like with the white card up, there'd be less shadows. And I want shadows. I want it to kind of look like the scene really looked. The other thing too is that I wanted to bump my ISO up enough that I can see into the background and see some of the other people. If I only had my ISO and my other settings on where just they were flashed and everything else went kind of pitch black, it just wouldn't look as good. You really do want to kind of, still be underexposed, but be able to kind of pick up what's going on a little bit in the background, some of that ambient light. I like to do this, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, is I get out my wide angle lens, and I will actually put my flash this way, and I'll go over top of people. Like, I've got some pictures later where people are flipping and doing stuff, so they were doing what's that line called? The limbo? Whatever it is, the fun thing. So I was actually doing this, and I had my hand out, and because it's like a wide angle lens, and I had my focus being in the center, and I was just hoping. Some of the pictures worked, some didn't, whatever, and I was just going like this, right? So just like that, when I'm shooting, if I'm even shooting down and I've got vertical, then my flash might be up this way. But most of the time, it's like this. And I would say in 80% of the time, when I'm at a reception, at any reception venue, the ceiling's white, and there's a tall ceiling. We're in a short ceiling right now. So I might actually find that my flash, I might actually have to, I'm just going to back up to this, is you see how it says plus 1.3 EV? That's the exact same thing as exposure compensation on your camera. So you can actually set it to be more flash output or less flash output than what the through the lens is doing. So you can actually underexpose your flash only by minus 2 or 3 or whatever stops you want. So I would probably have to do that here because my flash would just come up here and just blow everything right out. I used to just shoot kind of straight on, and I found that by angling, I do like the shot, and I like the shot of these guys. But if I was to do this all over again, it was a great moment, I would just get underneath and get out. Keith, come on up. Okay, pretend to dance for me. Okay, so pretend to dance, la 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 la, is I come up to people, and I'm like, hello, and then I get out of their way, and if my stuff was kind of blurry, then I go over to another set of people, and I'm kind of doing that, and I am standing pretty close, I'm close to these guys. And they're not care. Pardon? Usually my 35 millimeter prime is one of my favorite ones for receptions, or a 24 to 70. I'm kind of have no preference between prime and zoom. But this is lighter. If I'm going to shoot an 8-hour reception, this feels a lot lighter. So yeah, whereas a 24 to 70 zoom is it gives you a pretty good workout. And then there, I just wanted to show just another one, and I'm kind of shooting up. And for the most part, it just looks better when you're shooting up. Yeah, yeah. That's a flower that kind of hit her in the belly. Yes. So I don't want to have my flash like this because it's going to upset people. So when I'm low like that, I'm like this. And my flash is still just reaching the ceiling and not hitting anybody. So it's just a slight tilt. Oh, I am. Yeah, I am. And you know what? It might even be more like this. Yeah, sorry, that's a good question. Yeah. But people haven't complained that I'm hitting them in the face, so I think that's good. But I do, just in general, if you're taking pictures of people dancing and stuff, just go up, have the kind of reaction that you want. I actually noticed, because I walk up to people like this all the time at dances. And I have I don't know, it's my stupid party face. but I have people all the time, I'll be looking through the pictures and people echo the same face that I was giving. So if you're kind of people won't feel like they're going to have a good time. And if you're doing concert photography, same thing. But if you're but then I noticed I had 3 or 4 different groups in a row who were all going back. back at me, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing that face a lot. So, so I just wanted to show there's another, just an example that shows a little bit of shadow, plus it's funny. So I just wanted to go over, and I only have one slide for this, is what's called pop and drag, or dragging the shutter, and that's where you slow your shutter speed down. I would say below 25th of a second is best, or an eighth of a second, but maybe no more than that. And that's where you can kind of go like this, keep your cameras open, and then if you have your camera, it's second curtain sync on Canon and rear curtain sync on Nikon, and it's done different ways on both cameras, so I can't tell you which dial to push, so you'll have to look at your manual and find out. But if the flash goes off at the end of the exposure, it freezes the scene. If it was front curtain sync or first curtain sync, the flash will go off at first, and then you start going like this, and all the lines start going through people's faces, which maybe you want, but most times you kind of want to freeze the person and have the lines and the streaks and the stuff like that. And I will be like, I'll be shooting like this, like click, 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 click. Yeah. So no ceiling, back to that dilemma. And that is where a friend introduced me to the flash bender. Does anybody have this? See, mine's really well used. So I can still do the, you have two? Ooh, you're my friend. Is you can still go back, and I can still do, oh goodness, I didn't mean to. Okay, so I can do this, and working outside, I can still take pictures where it's diffused and I'm getting shadows. There we go. So see, it's shadows, and I just used my little flash bender. And it's so super awesome. Like, you can actually turn it into what's called a snoot for any of you guys who do a lot of studio work, and you can bend it into anything you want and just have like kind of direct light at people, and you can do all kinds of stuff. And it's also great for fill light. The only trouble is, for me, is I find it a little bit heavy, so it starts like doing this on my flash when I'm pointing it at people. When it's back, it somehow anchors it. So I just like, that's how I like to use my flash bender. And there's another example of that. So off-camera flash, I keep it simple. And I do know how, like, you know, I've done setups. I'm going to show you one picture where I did a setup with 4 flashes going off. But most of the time, I just don't have time. Most of the time, I'm just, if I can get away with it, I use a video light now because they're awesome. And I can actually just see it and figure out the exposure and everything. But if I'm shooting in broad daylight and I want to underexpose, and I want to use an off-camera flash setup because the video light's just not bright enough for a bright sun. So here's just what the scene looked like. It's not the actual picture that's good or anything. And then this is my friend and the second photographer at this wedding, Julie, just held the flash over top of them, and I was able to underexpose and turn the stairs and everything into shadow, which is kind of nice. So with manual mode, some of your flash things, what are they called? Like the remote controls? Some of them, I use Pocket Wizards, the old-fashioned kind. So I have to shoot in manual mode, and I'm quite comfortable doing that. And I just wanted to explain that if you're at 1, that means it's the highest power your flash can put out. And if you're at 1/128th, it's 1/128th amount of light coming out of your flash. That's all you need to know. And when I was in photography school, I had to redo my assignment 3 times to get this right. I had an awesome teacher named Mitch Stringer who was very, very strict about like us really needing to know all these mathematical things, but I'm not a math genius. I just do what works, right? And what works is just, if I really want to pop a lot of flash into somebody, it's at 1/1, and if I want a little bit less, it's at 1/128th, basically. And I use a Pocket Wizard. There's a lot of different technologies out there, and yes, some of your cameras will even work it, but I just wanted to say that it will only work on your flash, like using a Pocket Wizard or an external thingy, if you've got a plug. Some flashes aren't made with the plug, so if you're going out and you're buying a flash and you want to do this, your flash may not be able to do it unless you're using your camera in commander mode, which is a whole other thing. And then this goes on my camera, and it controls it like a remote trigger. And I'll sometimes put diffusers and stuff on it. You can see there's a lot of Velcro on this. It's very well used. All my flashes are just like, oh. And you know what? I just bought a flash this year and broke it the second day I used it. Not broke it, but it fell, and then the white card fell out of it. Anyway, so that's all you have to do. And you know, if let's say I'm out in the field and I don't have time, I want to set this up like really, really fast to fill in some light or make something dramatic. I usually underexpose by around 2 stops for whatever the scene is, sometimes 3 stops, and then I make up by just putting a 1 flash setup on a tripod so I don't have to have anybody holding it. And then if it's too bright, I just move it further away. You know, it's pretty much as simple as that. You don't have to do a lot of math. So just to make it easy. So full power, 100%. And the other thing I wanted to mention is find out the flash sync speed of your camera. And once in a while, when I'm out shooting, I might have had my camera set up at 1/500th of a second, and then you get that little black crap coming across, like it's like you only took half the picture, and I'm like, what did I just do? Oh yeah, my flash sync speeds for my cameras range from 200th of a second to 250th of a second, but some cameras I know are 60th of a second. So you gotta look it up. Look it up in your manual, find out what it is, and don't exceed that unless you've got something that can do some sort of like a high-speed flash compensation. It just won't work. Go out and experiment and find out what's going to work with you and your camera and your system and your flash, because all those elements, you know, can get complicated. But whatever system you have, get to know that system. And if it is that your pop-up flash on your camera is how you're controlling your other things, then just get to know that system and what you need to do to control it. So this was in a beautiful place in Guatemala, and those lights in the back are candles that they had in the bushes. So like I kind of wanted to do that. So I had a flash on less power in front of them, and then I had a flash behind them, and you can actually see the flash kind of coming out. And then there's all these candles and stuff. Some of them have got that circles of confusion going on. And so that's a 2 flash setup. And I just basically had one on one tripod, the other on the other tripod, and then I just moved around. And the reason I wanted to mention this is that you want the backlighting to kind of create halos. I even think I overdid it a little bit. It's really, really blown out, but you want maybe the one that's behind them to be a bit brighter than the one that's in front of them. So the skin tones are different. So this is another example, and I've been teaching with this slide for a while because it's really like kind of illuminating about the difference you can do. My friend Eunice and I, she and I used to own our business together, and we were shooting this wedding, and so she said, okay, Christina, you've been dorking around a lot with off-camera flash. This is shot like, I think in '08. I'm going to shoot natural light. You be off-camera flash, and we'll just like have some variety that way, and we'll have some fun. So that was fine. So this is a shot she took, and it's pretty good, right? And then this is a shot I took by putting it on the flash, and it's 2 2/3 stop underexposed. So you want to take the same scene, and it was a cloudy day, and just underexpose. And then just have the flash just be whatever. Whatever works. And then there's just another picture of the same thing. So Eunice won an award for this. I did not win an award for any of the pictures that I shot at this wedding, which is totally fine. But I just want to say, like, she did take some exceptional pictures, this one included. And it's a beautiful picture in natural light, but sometimes you're stuck. For wedding photographers, you're sometimes stuck with just a lack of time. And you've got one wall to work with, and you want to just kind of like hustle and make it look different. So there was a fire escape right next to the window there, and I had Eunice hold the flash above the grates of the fire escape, and it actually cast some shadows. So that's how that picture was created. And then I thought it would be kind of like, you know, like film noir or something where he was like, oh, I'm checking you out. And then the instruction I give to her, in case I forget to mention it later, is like if I separate the couple, it's usually for fashion or fine art purposes. Otherwise, I keep them together. And usually I tell her, you're too good for him. You're too good for him. Look away. Look away. You're too good for him. And then I say to him, just check her out. She's too hot for you, but just check her out. She's too and it usually makes them laugh. So yeah, fill the eyes. I always remember that. Sometimes I'll have brides like, or you know, models or whatever, and they'll look away from the light. I have to remind them, the light's over here. So you have to tell them that. And then sometimes I like to do the same thing where I'll get her to do the little red carpet thing, and then I had him dorking around behind her where she didn't know what he was up to. So does it bother you that he's not really lit as much as she is? No. And then I had the wedding party actually hold the flashes here just to make it a little bit more Hollywood. So that's 2 flashes at them. And that's just the middle of the day down at the breakwater in Victoria. I just wanted to show these 2 pictures because I get asked about this one. So I just wanted to show you the setup. They're standing in front of the plexiglass at Tapas Bar, downtown Victoria in Trance Alley. And the plexiglass is filled with water, like it's just all raindrops and stuff. So we ducked in there. I took a couple of pictures like this. And then what I did was I had them, they were right up at the window. I was outside in the pouring rain, balancing like an umbrella under my arm. And I had the flash on the inside. You can actually see the bright flash there. The flash is on the inside where they are. And it's just at them. And then I'm on the outside in the pouring rain and getting drenched in the middle of November when it was freezing in Victoria. And you can actually see those yellow lights that kind of going up there? You can see them in this shot to kind of show you. So what else has flat, like if it was a rainy day? Car windows, and what else on a rainy day? Puddles and bus stops. Yeah. Okay, so this is my 4-flash setup. And it was because it was shot at noon. And they really wanted a picture here. Her dad had built this. And it was in the backyard. And you can imagine the shadows. So I had a main light with an umbrella on a tripod. And I basically said to them, can you guys go in the house and chill out and just give me about 15 minutes? And that's a real dog. That's not a stuffed dog. The dog just came in the picture. But I think it kind of goes with the picture a little bit. So I had one light on her. I had another light coming in on him. And then you can also see there's a backlight causing a bit of like rim lighting behind them. And then I think I had something else like maybe pointing in. I had 4 lights anyway. So, it can be done, but it takes a long time. And I shoot alone most of the time. I shot this alone. And it's, you want to make sure you have time. But sometimes, I don't know, I wanted to make this work at least. I didn't want to just take a snapshot of them in the structure that her dad had built, because it was kind of cool structure, and they're a cool couple. So, okay, we'll do group portraits now. This is awesome. Okay, so you guys have to be prepared. You're going to come up to the front. I need like a few people. What do I have? Yeah, we're going to do practice right away. Okay, whoever feels comfortable, come on up. I want like quite a few people. Is I'm going to pretend that I've got like a big group. It could be a family, whatever. And sometimes I have groups. I once had 50 people, but I wouldn't do this with 50 people. But, I have a lot of people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend I just have to change my card, guys. Can you give me a second before I get you guys all set up? Just chill out and chat. Now pretend to chill out and chat. Like, what would you do? Would you, and form, like, you'll actually probably get in a circle so that, because pretend you're not in front of a class, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna contrive this. I'm gonna make you guys be in a circle, and you guys are in a circle. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay. So, guys, everybody stay just as you are. Everybody stay exactly as you are. And I want you now to, without touching anybody else, just look toward my camera. Perfect. And and Carl, I'm going to have you I will adjust Carl, so I'm going to adjust you this way. You're going to go the other. That's perfect, yeah, like that. And I'm going to have you you're going to come just one more foot that way. So it's the only adjustment I really needed to make, and they're already in a good, maybe I'll get you two just take a step this way. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I said it bad. You guys, yes. But you see how all their shoulders are already staggered? Most people, when they're in conversation, I notice this all the time when people are out just chatting and stuff, that if you just said to people, just stop what you're doing. And I find like with wedding parties that are being a little bit unruly, I work with a lot of wedding parties. This doesn't work so well with kids. So with family portraits, it's not as easy of a technique if you've got little ones. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But it's pretty much a nice group portrait, right? They're all staggered, and they've all formed triangles. And I'm always looking for triangles in groups. So they've got a triangle this way. And then from perspective, they've got a triangle from her to him to him. Like, there's a lot of triangles going on. And it's a pretty nice portrait, right? So the other technique that I do, the reason I mention wedding parties is because usually they're like, oh, they just have so much energy and they want to just get partying, and they're like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And so it's really hard to pose wedding parties. It's like the hardest thing I have to pose in my whole life is a wedding party of adults. Yeah. Okay, so I want you all in a straight line, a completely straight line, like a firing line. And I'm going to pretend I don't know anybody's names, because sometimes you don't. Okay, so I'm going to get the two brides. You're going to take a step forward. Awesome. Okay, the next two people, you're going to stay right there. The next two people are going to take one step forward. And the next two people are going to stay right there. And then what I'll do is I'll put my camera down, and just by not touching them at all, that was the other thing I wanted to mention when we were doing the communications exercise. Try not to touch people. You know, you can tell people where to move, where to look, how to look by showing them, but also with the technique I'm about to do. So when I've got like a whole bunch of uncooperative adults who just want to go party, this is exactly what I do. Okay, so your shoulders are going to go this way. Okay, your shoulders are going to go this way, 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 your shoulders are going to go that way. And even if somebody didn't put their shoulder in the way that I wanted, it's still going to be staggered enough that it's going to work. So that's how you stagger. Sometimes I'll get people to take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And the prominent people, if it is a wedding, the prominent people are usually the brides or the bride and groom, and so they'll be a little bit more forward. And you'll be shooting at f8, f5.6 to make sure that your aperture is getting in on that. So that's cool. So I might leave, no, I'm going to get you guys all up now. This is you guys don't know each other well enough. Nobody sue me for sexual harassment, okay? Okay. Okay. Okay, get in nice and tight. Yeah. So get in nice and tight, And so let's pretend, because when I have a group of guys, it's even, you know, they all start posturing and they all start really not listening to me at all, and they want to do their own thing. And I once even had a groom who was just like, he just didn't want to be in any of the pictures, and he wouldn't smile. So I'm going to pretend that our bride, Rachel, raise your hand so everybody knows who you are, doesn't smile. Everybody pinch Rachel's bum. Don't really do it. But see, it made them laugh, right? And I said that to the guys. So yeah, so I think I have a picture coming up where I did that. The other thing too is, let's say that this is a family picture, and family pictures, especially the ones that you're just doing like family, and you're not really setting it up. I would want to stagger a family if it was mostly adults, is pretend that we're at a party. How would you normally like stand for a Facebook picture? Just do that right now. Like, show me what people do. Yeah. Exactly, right? There's nothing really wrong with this, but what I do is I'll tell everybody, okay, touch only one person. Now readjust, and I only want you to touch one person. Yeah. But you can touch somebody, yeah, with your hands, like only touch one person. Yeah. But it looks a lot better, right? And it's a simple instruction, just touch one person. And that could even be just like, you know, the mom's so excited, she's got her arms around her 2 sons. Okay, Mom, just choose one son to put your hand on. No. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much, guys.